Hey everyone, my name is Adox and welcome to my channel. So if you're new here or don't exactly know what the idea of my channel is that I focus on doing standard and premium content. I upload 3 videos minimum a week, so if that interests you, be sure to subscribe to my channel and make sure you hit the notification bell so that when I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Alrighty, so with that out of the way, let's go into the deck profile. So today we have the Regalia deck profile. And starting off, we'll start off with the starter, sorry. And the starter we have is the Incipient Longtail. So it's a V starter has the ability when rode upon, you draw a card, and then if you went second, and your opponent's in grade 1, you get a quick shield. Alrighty, going into the grade 3s, we run for Yggdrasil. So, she has 2 skills. So the first skill is Continuous Vanguard in Vanguard Circle. All your regards with Divine Gauge get boost. And if this unit is on Vanguard Circle and it is your opponent's turn, those regards cannot be affected by your opponent's cards. And then secondly, the very important skill as well, is Act ability once per turn on Vanguard in Regard Circle. You can counterblast one, search your deck for up to 1 of your regards. Search your deck for up to 1 Regalia of Fate Norn, call it to Regard Circle, shuffle your deck, choose up to 2 of your regards, and put up to 1 card from your soul face down as a Divine Gauge for each of them. So essentially what she does is she sets up Divine Gauge for your regards so that they can have boost. She really does help with the counterpart, which is Norn. We will get into her later on in the video, but she can also be used to gauge other regards that may potentially need the gauge. Alrighty, so into the next grade 3. It is the Regalia of Wisdom Angelica. So she has 3 abilities. So her first skill, Continuous Vanguard Circle. All your regards with Divine Gauge cannot be chosen by your opponent's card effects and get 5k power. Then when it attacks, choose up to 2 of your regards and put up to 1 card from your soul face down as a Divine Gauge for each of those units. And then lastly, at the end of your opponent's turn, discard 5 Divine Gauge and heal a card from your damage zone. We primarily have it here for the second skill, as since she can set up Gauge, if going first, it allows us to have another form of gauging aside from the Yggdrasil, and the Norm, but we'll get to those later on. The first skill does come up as well, as again, they can't be chosen by card effects, so they can't be Denial Griffin, anything like that, or like retired by skills whatsoever. And then they get 5k, so they become a little bit beefier, which is very nice. Alrighty, next we go into the grade 2s. So we run for Regalia Fate Norn. Her skill is Vanguard and Regard Circle once per turn. Cost counterblast 1, draw a card, and choose 1 of your regards. You may put a card from your soul face down as a Divine Gauge for that unit. If you put a card, soul charge 2. And then the second skill is Auto Regard Circle once per turn. At the end of the battle, it boosted a unit with Regalia in its card name. Cost, discard a card from your hand, and one of these units Divine Gauges to stand the boosted unit, and that unit gets power plus 10, but drive -1 until the end of the turn. So she is really good being put behind the Vanguard, as your Vanguard gets a restand and can attack again, which means you dig into your deck more for triggers. She can also stand regards as well. So just say, for example, you put a Force 2 on a regard, and you want that regard to stand a couple times because it can be potentially threatening. She can help allow you to do that. The first skill is very handy as well, being able to set up Divine Gauge as well. Being able to feel your soul, because when we go into the strides, some of our specific stride we have to go in usually does require a lot of Regalias. So she can potentially help fill that soul with Regalia cards. And again, being able to draw a card and get something Divine Gauge definitely does help as well. Alrighty, next we run 3 Unappeasable Biter Iglepni. So his skill is, when this unit is placed on Vanguard or Regard Circle, counterblast 1 and soul charge 1. Then choose a card from your soul and put it into your hand. And then when this unit attacks, you can soul +1, and this unit gets power +10 during the turn. The main reason why this card is on the deck is that it can trigger any card from our soul into our hand. So if we're missing a certain key piece, just say an Idrisil or a Norn, for example, or maybe we'd have like the right grade 3 target, for example, we can use this to get it out. So this is a very, very, very solid card. We only run it free as space is kind of tight, and again, we want to have a lot of Regalia cards, again, for our Regalia specific stride, which we'll go into later in the video. Next, we run 4 Demon Exorcism Regalia Thread. So she has 2 skills. So when placed, you may put a card from your hand, you may put a card from your soul face down as the Divine Engage for this unit when she's placed. And then her second skill is Auto Regard Circle. At the end of the battle, it attacked or boosted. Put this unit, at the end of battle, it attacked or boosted. Cost, this unit has 1 or more Divine Engage, and move all this unit's Divine Engage to another Regard. Put it into your soul and draw a card. So the idea is what she does is, at the end of the battle, she attacks or boosts. You give all her gauge to something else, and then you put her into the soul and draw a card. She is solid for the fact that if you need a certain regard to get gauge, and you maybe not have gauge for that regard at the time, as you maybe didn't have enough at the time, she can help fix that, as she gives herself a gauge when she's placed. Then the other nice thing as well, she puts herself in the soul, and since she's a Regalia specific card, it does help towards our strategy, which we're going for again with our stride later on during the video. Next, we have 3 of our grade 1s, Exorcism Regalia Shiny Angel. So when this unit is placed on Regard, choose up to 3 cards with Regalia in its card name from your drop zone and put them into your soul. Reason why she is good is, again, with our certain stride we'll be going to later in the video, we need to have quite a few Regalias soul blasted out. And this card allows us to get more Regalias into the soul so we can fulfill that condition. Another thing you can technically do over as well is if you were to put a Regalia into your soul, because maybe you need a specific one to get called out, you can use her to put Regalias from drop into the soul, and use Klepny to get maybe that specific Regalia card out of the soul, add to your hand. Next, we run 3 Regalia of Benevolent Wind Flap Angel. So her skill is auto. Choose a grade 3 card with Regalia's card name from your hand and reveal it. This is for the cost. When this unit is placed in a Regard Circle, you may pay the cost. If you do, search your deck for up to 1 grade 3 with Regalia and its card name, reveal it, put it into your hand, choose a card from your hand, discard it, and shuffle your deck. So this does help, again, if you're looking for a specific Regalia grade 3 that you don't have in your hand, or maybe you need more of a specific grade 3 Regalia, she can help with that. And then her second skill, in the hand, continuous. While you're playing the cost per stride, this gets grade +2. So she acts as a stride fighter. Next, we run 4 Ablation Regalia Var. So when it attacks or boosts, you may put a card from your soul face down as a divine gauge for this unit. And then on the Act Regard Circle once per turn, discard one of this unit's Divine Gauges soul charge free. If you have a Vanguard Regalian's card name, reply this unit and countercharge 1. So she is good for, again, making her own Divine Gauge, which does help in tandem with her second skill, which is again discarding one of its Divine Gauges, a soul charge free, and potentially countercharge 1. The deck does use quite a bit of counterblast, so this does help in regards to the countercharge department. But also being able to soul charge free helps a lot as well, as again, I've said this multiple times now, our main strategy, which is with our specific Regalia grade 4, we need a lot of specific Regalia cards to be soul blasted out, and she does help with that. Next, we have for Perfect Guards. It is Regalia of Frost Jotun. So, Continuous Sentinel, PG. Auto, choose a card from your hand and discard it when it's placed on Guardian Circle from your hand. You pay the cost. If you do, choose one of your units Regalian's card name, and it cannot be hit until the end of the battle. Now, the second skill, which is quite nice, GB1, bind this unit face up, auto. When this unit is put in the drop zone from your soul during your turn, if you have a Vanguard with Regalian's card name, you pay the cost. If you do, choose a Regalia of Frost Jotun from your drop zone and you return it to hand. So, in scenarios where you may soul charge the Jotun, maybe soul charge multiple, maybe you have one on the drop, you can essentially fetch a PG from your soul to your hand. So as long as you soul blast her out. So she is a very nice card. As again, since we're soul charging a lot, we want to make sure we have a way to survive too. PGs are obviously one way of getting that extra shield value, especially for attacks that are very massive. Being able to reuse her too. If just say, for example, you were to use cards that put Regalia cards from your drop back into the soul, is very nice too. So potentially you could get quite a few uses out of this Perfect Guard. Now for the triggers, we run one over trigger. We run the generic one, as by giving either our Vanguard or maybe our Vanguard or Reguard, or maybe 2 Reguards, 100 million power, we can make them threatening, especially on a big Regalia turn. Since we're restanding multiple times, this overtrigger becomes very, very crazy. We don't really want to use the Kita overtrigger, as the deck goes through, you go through the deck very, very fast, that potentially using the Kita overtrigger, you could potentially deck yourself out, and it's not what you want to do. Next, we run one Dreaming Dragon. So, auto Reguard Circle, GB1. Put this unit on top of your deck. At the end of the turn, you may pay the cost. If you do, return all cards in your drop zone to your deck and shuffle your deck. Then, if 10 or more cards are returned, draw one. This card essentially helps you from decking out. Next, we have 2 Tablet Angel. So, her skill is when your Vanguard attacks, put this unit into your soul, draw a card, and one of your Vanguards get plus 10k power until the end of the battle. She does help, again, generate soul. She's in Regalia, but there are some strides that do require some soul blast. And since you don't want to be soul blasting Regalia-specific cards all the time, again, when you get into your big Regalia stride, having cards that aren't Regalia that are easy to put in the soul to get rid of is very nice. We then run 4 Dragon Ancestral Deity, a progression, Mushisu. I probably botched that. Essentially what this card is a stride fighter. When you discard it for the cost of stride in the hand, it becomes grade +3. Next, we run 4 Regalia of Hypocenter, Kuku Rihime. So you put this unit into your soul. Act ability. If you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard, choose one of your units and it gets power +3 until the end of the turn. And if you have a face-up card in your G-Zone, draw a card. So she puts herself on the soul to draw a card, which is nice. She's solving 3k, the magic number can come in handy sometimes. And the last thing, of course, is that she's another Regalia. So again, another way to put Regalias in the soul is always very nice for our big strategy. And then last, we have the Heal Guardians. These help us to stop dying. And, well, we need heals to use G Guardians, so that's the reason why it's in there too. Alright, we'll go into the strides. We have a couple of one-offs. So we go into, first of all, the... I'm not even going to read that, it's a long name. But essentially, his skill, his auto in G-Zone, when your Vanguard attacks, if your Vanguard is grade 3, cost counter +1 and soul blast 6. Strike this card on your Vanguard circle as rest from face down, and it gets the power and crit of one of your heart cards that had got from trigger effects this turn until end of turn, and change the attacking unit for the battle to this unit. So, if you go first, and you have adequate soul to use, you can essentially Stride while the opponent's potentially on grade 2. Again, since you're trying to do this, if you use Norn, for example, you get a triple drive and then you get a twin drive. So it's better than having your grade 3 where you swing with a twin drive and then just one drive check. So again, moves for the deck, much quicker as well, is very nice. And sometimes you can potentially even just kill someone just on the first drive with this while the opponent's on grade 2. Very, very strong card. Right. Next we have Ultimate Regalia Crimson Misspell. So act ability once per turn, choose a face down card from your G zone and turn it face up. Soul charge any number of cards. Choose one of your regards for each card. Soul blast any number of cards. Choose one of your regards for each card soul blasted, and they get power +4 until the end of the turn. If you soul charged if you soul blasted, 3 or more cards, draw a card and countercharge 1. I mainly have it here as flip one but in scenarios where I get damage denied, this is an option that I can use. Next, we have a new stride from the New Premium Collection, which is the Soul Offering Heavenly Dragon, Jagdanaruga. I probably butchered that as well, but anyway. Auto Vanguard Circle once per turn. When the unit attacks, turn a card from your G-Zone face up. Choose any number of cards of different grades from your drop, put them into your soul, and this unit gets 10,000 power until end of the turn. Please do note, it does not get 10k for each different card in your soul, it just gets 10k, and you get to put potentially a total of 4 different cards from your drop into the soul. It does potentially help, again, if you want to put Regalia specific cards into the soul, so you can go your big Regalia turn. Again, it also does have a second skill, which is when your opponent's unit is put in a Guardian Circle other than from the deck, Soul Blast free, retire that unit, your opponent looks at the top card of the deck and calls the Guardian Circle. I honestly very rarely go into this card. The only viability I can see for using this card is if the opponent is on 5 damage. Other than that, most of the time, the opponent can somehow potentially work around it if they try to use it in the early stages of the game. At this stage, I honestly think it might be easier going to the other stride that we saw into now, which has much more value and benefit, which is the Complete Beauty Amaruda Afros. So her skill is act once per turn, counter +1, and turn a card from your G-Zone face up. Until end of turn, one of your regards get power +10 and crit +1, and then if your soul has 4 or less cards, draw 2 cards and soul charge 5. And then her second skill is Auto Vanguard Circle. At the end of the battle it attacked, Soul Blast 15, stand one of your regards, and until end of the turn, your opponent cannot call Sentinels from hand. I mainly use her for the first skill, which helps generate soul, draw cards, and give something 10 can a crit. Again, if you can set up a Norn behind the Vanguard and a Norn behind the Regalia, you're going to be standing multiple times. If you give her the Force 2 and give the other Regalia the power and crit, you have a very powerful first stride that, first of all, gives you resources, which is very nice, allows you to draw cards so your hand gets a little bit bigger, and you make a threatening Regalia. She's a very, very solid first stride. Next we have 2 Prehistoric Regalia Earth. So her skill is counter +1, choose a face down card named to herself from your G-Zone face up. When this unit is placed on Vanguard Circle, if you have a heart card with Regalia's card name, you may pay the cost. If you do, put all the cards with Regalia and its card name from your drop into your soul. And if the number of face-up cards with Regalia's card name in your G-Zone is 2 or more, until the end of the turn, this unit gets Act Vanguard Circle, Soul Blast 6. This unit gets plus 10,000 power and a crit until the end of the turn. So, she can potentially become a very threatening Vanguard that can withstand potentially twice with having Norn. But she's also handy in there to be able to amass a very big soul for our big Regalia turn, which I'm going to go into now. I've been talking about this big Regalia turn, well, the big Regalia stride as well. And this is the stride. It is the Ultimate Regalia of Almighty Minerva. And so her skill is act once per turn, Soul Blast 3 cards with Regalia in their card name, and choose a face down card with the same card name as this unit from your G zone and turn it face up. And this unit gets plus 10,000 and plus 1 drive. And then her second skill, auto, once per turn, GB3, Soul Blast 6 cards with Regalia in their card names, and choose a card from your hand and discard it. When this unit attacks, you may pay the cost. If you do, at the end of the turn, stand all of your Regards Regalia in their card names, and this should get drive -3 until the end of turn. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. This is quite the stride. So we'll go into both the skills and explain why she is good. So, first of all, she gains plus 10k in extra drive. She has quad drive. If you have a Norn behind the Minerva, assuming with Minerva first, then stand her using a Norn skill, you have your quad drive, then you have your triple drive. So you have 7 cards then already. But then next, so you've had 2 Vanguard attacks already. Then you can swing with Minerva again for the last time, having 3 Vanguard attacks. So that's very, 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 very powerful. Just that alone is a lot of pressure. But then we go with her second skill, which is pretty much, if you can Soul Blast 6 Regalia cards, you can stand the whole board. Now, the reason why standing the whole board is good is that, just say, for example, you have both columns with a Norn and an Yggdrasil, and you have the Vanguard that also has a Norn behind it. You get 3 attacks from both your Regards and 3 attacks from your Vanguard. That's a total of 9 attacks. And those attacks would be relatively big as well. This is an absolutely crazy and threatening card. But again, the one thing you do have to keep mindful, which is why I think this card is quite balanced, is that you need to Soul Blast 9 Regalias for this whole cost. 9 is quite a bit if you can't get 9 Regalia cards from the Soul. So you have to be very careful what you're doing and to make sure that when you are Soul Blasting cards out, that you have adequate amount of Soul to use Minerva. Because when you strike into her, you want to use her whole skill. Now that's all the strides, we'll go straight into the G-Guards. So first of all, we have Witch Queen of Accomplishment, Laurea. So when she's placed in Guardian Circle, choose a face down G-Guardian from your G-Zone, turn it face up, auto, GB1. Choose 2 or more normal units with the same grade from your drop or soul, up to a total of 3, return them to the deck, and this unit gets power +5 until the end of the battle, for each card returned and shuffle your deck. So the idea is that she can become quite a big G-Guard, but she can also put specific cards back into the deck that you may potentially need back in the deck. So, I can't really think of any good examples at the moment, sorry. Norn, for example. If you're trying to get Norn back, for example, which maybe in the Soul or something, or in the deck, you can use Yggdrasil to get them back out. So that's also a very, very nice card. There are other interactions, but I can't really think off the top of my head at the moment. Next we have Sky Enforcing Light Dragon, Anvarata. So, when this unit is placed on the Guardian Circle auto, put a card from your hand or Regards into your Soul. And this unit gets power +10 until the end of battle. But then, put a total of two cards from your hand or Regards into your Soul, and choose one of your opponent's units and gets crit -2 until end of turn. So, the idea is if you can put 2 cards from hand or Regards into the Soul, you can essentially choose one of your opponent's units and it gets crit -2 at the end of the turn. So if the opponent, for example, has a Vanguard that's going to be swinging for quite big with crit, the perfect example would be Dimension Police. If you could use this to make their crit less, you can potentially have a bigger chance of the surviving their turns. There are other decks that generate quite a bit of crit that can restand a few times as well. I can't think on top of my head. But yeah, this card actually does help a lot. It's essentially like a PG, but isn't a PG. Again, a very, very good card. Next, we have the Goddess of Seven Colors, Iris. So when is placed in Guardian Circle Auto, choose up to 3 cards from your drop zone, put them into your soul. If 3 cards are put into your soul, this gets power +5 to another turn. You can generally put 3 Regalia cards from your drop zone into your soul. This is amazing. It's a great card. Then lastly, we have our last 2G cards, which is the Ultimate Regalia of Affection Air. So, when it's placed in Guardian Circle, choose up the 4 cards from your drop zone with different grades and put them into your soul. If you put 2 or more cards until the end of this battle, this unit gets shield +5. Then if you put 4 or more, it gets shield +10. So you can essentially become a 30k G-Guard that can allow you to put a potential of 4 different graded Regalia cards from your drop into the soul. So again, this can be used to prepare for your big Regalia turn, well, kind of with a lot of the other G-Guards, to kind of make sure that when you go to Minerva, you have all the adequate amount of Regalia cards to Soul Blast out. And with that, that is the end of the video. So, the deck profile, my apologies. I do hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, please do leave a like down below, and I will see you guys in the next video. A-Dogs out. See ya.